Howdy. Just eating some almonds. What are you doing? Huh? Man, almonds are addicting. Boy, they're good. So good. Good for you, too. Isn't that the best? When you can find something that's delicious. That's delicious for you. Can't beat that. That's like having your cake and eating it too. Get it? Get it. Ah, good stuff, Travis. Good luck, buddy. Brenda Baker, welcome. So I am going to record this week's episode of AMXkids by way of Facebook live stream, and then I'm also going to upload it to YouTube and my podcast feed. So that's about it. That's about all of an introduction that I had thought of. Hi, Brenda. Your little ones are adorable. Amanda took some pictures. I guess they were together last week, but so cute. So cute and so fun. All right, let me get set up here. But again, this is the kids podcast, AMXkids. So this Facebook Live, you're a grown-up, presumably. But the delivery of the show is going to be delivered as if you're some middle schoolers. Because it is for middle schoolers. It is uploaded to my podcast feed to be listened to by middle schoolers and or grown-ups with kids. So they can both listen together, foster, create discussion. So don't get confused thinking, why is he talking to me like I'm like, why is this condescending son of a gun talking to me like I'm a kid? It's because I am talking to you as if you were a kid. Can you hear that background, Brenda or Travis? Can you hear that background? The washer's running over there, and I can go shut it off if you can hear it. So give me a heads up and let me know there, and then I'll act accordingly. And then I'm going to start. Application. So I'm going to start, for anyone else who just signed in, I'm going to start with AMXkids 6 here in a minute. I'm going to shut it off, Brenda, just so the audio is... Thank you very much for that. Hold on one sec. Hello, Dread. Now, I wish my phone wasn't recording me so I could put a reminder in that says restart the laundry. Restart the laundry when I finish, because chances are I'm going to forget. I don't want to forget. Dreadster, we're here for AMXkids 6. 6, the Breadwinner 2. Ooh. Delete track. Holy moly, I did push-ups last night. So I did jiu-jitsu on Sunday. First time in 2 or 3 years that I did jiu-jitsu. I was on the mats. And I was very much, it sounds odd, but I was looking forward. One, I was really impressed with my conditioning. But second, I was really looking forward to the soreness that comes after hard work like that. Just your neck and your shoulders and your back, etc. So then I was doing a 1,000 push-up circuit last night, and my lower back started hurting so bad, and it freaking knocked me out. So while I was yearning for this discomfort of BJJ, last night I was whining. I did not want it at all. But we got through it. We got through it. All right, so I'm going to start getting into AMXkids mode. This is the book I'm reading, The Breadwinner. If you have youngsters, I highly encourage you to tune them into AMXkids. These books, they're filled with valuable life lessons, and I'm here to deliver my take on those valuable life lessons with AMXkids. Let me think of how I'm going to do this here. What I'm going to say, I got to get out of AMX mode, I got to get out of Facebook live stream mode, and I got to get into AMXkids mode. And I just gave a Rotary talk this morning where I was in grown-up real delivery mode. This is an overload. Okay. Okay, I'm getting nervous. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hello, my friends, and welcome to AMXkids 6. The book I'm reading right now is The Breadwinner by Deborah Ellis. You can get this book. Hey, you're old enough to sign on to the computer, right? You have computer. You probably have iPads, your own personal computer in schools. Who knows? My wife works at a middle school, so I get tuned into the new gadgets and I'm going to say privileges that the students there have. So of course you're online. Of course you probably have your own computer, your own smartphone. We're young, but we're not that young. I want to ask this too before I dive into today's AMXkids 6. Is it all right if I call you a mini Spaniard? When I was teaching, I used to teach junior high Spanish. And I would call my students mini Spaniards because I was the Spaniard. I am the Spaniard. So if it's all right with you, I would like to call you mini Spaniards. So if you have a problem with that, if you don't want me to address you as mini Spaniard, reach out to me on social media at Charlie Spaniard and we can hash it out. But for now, I'm going to call you mini Spaniards, maybe world's toughest little learners. I don't know, whichever one you prefer. Mini Spaniard, world's toughest little learners. Anyway, let's dive into AMXkids 6, reading the book The Breadwinner by Deborah Ellis. Now, if you're following along, my hope, all you youngsters, you might be too young to remember Hulkamaniacs, right? But my hope, my vision, my dream is that you're out there reading the book The Breadwinner, and you're anxiously awaiting next week's episode, and you're sitting there with your parent or your teacher or your coach, and you're yearning for this learning. That's my hope and my dream. If that's the case, if you're reading along with me, this week's episode, AMXkids 6, is covering chapters 4 through 8 of The Breadwinner. It's roughly pages 45 through 86. So if you're reading along before or after, that's the content that I'm going to be talking about today. So last week we learned that Parvana and her family are dealing with a very not good situation. They've been put into adversity. They're having to grow as a family, dealing with Afghanistan, dealing with the Taliban, dealing with family safety. So it's a very real environment. And as I said last week, I was pretty nervous to dive into this book because I don't know the content that well. And I'm nervous, you know, when you have to get ready to maybe deliver a speech or playing a game, and maybe you're not that well prepared for it, it's nerve-wracking. And I thought, well, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to sound silly. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, you know, literally, or metaphorically. I don't want to do that. And I was encouraged, as I'm encouraging you, I was encouraged, you know what? Bite that challenge. Take a bite of that challenge. Attack that challenge head on. So I put my nose to the grindstone. I started reading, I started learning, and it's turning out to be a great book. Again, The Breadwinner by Deborah Ellis. Deals with some serious stuff, but there's some really good, really cool, valuable learning lessons that come out of that. Today I'm going to talk about 3 of them. The first one being teamwork. The second one being the importance of action and movement when dealing with adversity. And then the last one's going to be defining your role. And if you don't know the meaning of that word role, or know what I'm talking about when I say defining your role, rest easy. I'm going to explain. I'm going to spell it out for you. I know when interacting with my friends and my family, they need to spell it out for me. So if you need it to be spelled out for you, know that I'm standing right beside you. I may be 37, I may be a good 20 or 30 years older than you, but I still need it spelled out for me. So let's dive into the first concept of teamwork. As I said before, Parvana and her family are put into a situation where they really have to rely on each other. You know, think about a team. When I say the word team, and if you're listening to this with your parent or coach, you know, hit pause and elaborate on this. But when I say the word team, what do you think of? You know, who do you think of? Do you have teams that, are you part of teams? I remember when I was in junior high school, and this is going back, I don't know, a good 25-ish years. That's, I kind of feel like, you know, however your middle school is set up, I know my wife's, in some way or another, they're set up in teams. Back when I was in middle school and junior high, they actually was the beginning of this concept of teams, the grade being divided into teams. So you're probably on some sort of an academic team, if not a variety of teams. So teams, you know that it's very important in a team that multiple different individuals have to function together. They have to work together. And when you're part of a team, there's so many different personalities. There's so many different, maybe someone's very loud and talks a lot. Maybe someone's very quiet and reserved. Maybe someone's overpowering, meaning they talk over the conversation. Maybe someone is very physically, you know, agitated, where they're always moving and they can't sit still. So there's a lot of different people on a team. So Parvana and her family, in this instance, they need to function as a team. They're put in a very difficult situation. They're dealing with adversity. And there was a quote in the book that said this, quote, "Everybody leans on everybody in this family. Everybody leans on everybody in this family." And I want to throw this out there. Maybe you've heard it before, maybe you haven't. I don't know where it comes from, but it's fun to say, and it has a really good meaning. Teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work. Remember that. Write it down. Repeat it again. Hit pause if you need to. Teamwork makes the dream work. What does that mean? That means if you have hopes and dreams and goals and aspirations, you've got to understand, accept the fact, I'm going to need help getting there. It's going to be a team that's going to help me get there. Since I was young, I've had really big hopes, really big goals, really big dreams and aspirations. Academic goals and dreams and aspirations, straight A's. My goal was to get straight A's in school. My goal was to get straight A's in college. Athletically, you know, I had goals of winning a state title. I had goals of becoming an All-American, one of the best wrestlers in the country. In the UFC, when I started professional fighting, I had a goal to get a UFC contract, and UFC is the biggest organization in the world. I wanted to be one of those fighters. I wanted to win a title. Starting this podcast, what you're listening to right now, from day one, I said to Dread, I want to have 1 million downloads. 1 million downloads. That was a tangible goal. Tangible meaning clearly defined, within reach, something that I'm clearly working for. Those are my goals. But it's important. Let's go back to the teamwork makes the dream work. Those were my dreams. Those are my dreams. And I had people in my corner the entire way of every one of those dreams, every one of those pathways, whether it was academics. Do you know how many teachers I've had in my life? Teachers are part of your team. Teachers are part of your academic team. Tutors, Spanish. Yo hablo español. I learned the Spanish language from teachers, from my friends. I had an exchange student from Spain stay with my family. They were part of my team, part of my academic team, my athletic team. My coaches, my mentors, my guides, from elementary to personal lessons to traveling up to Penn State University or traveling to Fargo, North Dakota with various coaches to wrestle in these tournaments. They were all part of my team. My podcast, Dread. I don't know if you're watching Mini Spaniards. I don't know if you've heard me mention Dread before, but Dread is my partner. Dread helps me create a vast majority of the things I do. He helps guide me. Bottom line is this: teamwork makes the dream work. You are not alone, and you don't need to try and do things alone. This idea of teamwork, this idea of being a part of a team by helping and by one, helping, but two, asking and relying and gathering input from other people. Use others' experiences to help you. I'm going to repeat that. Use other people's experiences to help you. You know, you're 10, 12, 14 years old. Guess what? There's been a lot of 10, 12, 14-year-olds in the world, in various parts of the world, doing various different types of things. So why not ask questions and rely on their experiences to help you? That's one of my favorite things about reading, right? So think right now, again, hit pause if you'd like to. I love asking this question. When I speak in middle schools or I speak in high schools, I love asking this question because I have absolutely no idea what you're going to say. Think of someone, and actually the last time I asked this question, the kids were spouting off names I didn't even know. So I couldn't even prove the point of what I want to say. So within your group, within your team, to your mom, your dad, or even by yourself in your head if you're listening to this by yourself, think of like your hero, the person you'd love to spend the most time with, right? Is it Ronaldo? Is it whatever musician? See, when I try to think on the spot, I can't think on the spot. You know, who is that person? Who is that group? Who is that band? Is it Dierks Bentley? I'd love to hang out with Dierks Bentley. You know, who is that group? Who is that person or that entity that you'd love to spend time with? You have that answer. Second question. Well, did they write a book? If the answer to that question is yes, then guess what? You can read their book and spend 4, 5, 6, 10 hours with those people, and you can learn from them. That's one of my favorite things about learning. This is something Dredd taught me. He said, Spaniard, you're learning. We're learning. You can learn. You can spend time with and learn from so many extremely interesting, successful people simply by reading their books. So here's your action point for teamwork making the dream work. Here's your action point. Explain or discuss. Now remember, action points are like something tangible that you can do with this piece of content. Talk to your parent about it, talk to your team, talk to your friend, whomever. Repeat it out loud to yourself. Think on it. The action point is this. Explain or discuss the saying, no man is an island. No man is an island. Think that over, repeat it to yourself. Think of the content that I just went over, and then explain and discuss that word, that phrase, no man is an island. Moving on to the next bullet point, action and movement in overcoming difficult negative situations, adversity, or difficulty in general. So at one point in the book, again, I'm not going to give the book away. I want you to read the book. That's part of this exercise. That's part of this exercise. I actually want you to put in the work and read it. So at one point, Parvana's mother is feeling sad and depressed. So she's feeling sad and depressed and dejected. If you can imagine someone in your life who at one point or another might feel sad or depressed, or, you know, maybe your parents. I remember when I was a kid and my grandma passed away. You know, it was extremely difficult, and it was extremely difficult for me, but it was also extremely difficult for my mother and my family. So I remember them feeling bad. I remember them being sad. And there was a point in the book where Parvana's mother was feeling sad and depressed. And in the book it said, quote, she has to get up soon. And that was said by one of her other daughter, Noria. She has to get up soon. Now, the intro to this segment / that quote, she has to get up soon. I want to point out to you the importance, the absolute importance of action and movement to overcome difficulties. Action and movement to overcome difficulties, to overcome adversity. What does that mean? I'm going to spell it out for you. Something happens to you where it makes you feel sad, bad, whatever it is. It can be a variety of different things. Maybe it's with your friends, maybe with your family, maybe with your studies. Who knows what it is? So you're feeling bad. So I'm thinking of junior high school, getting bullied, having the anxiety of, oh my gosh, I might get up. I might get beat up. This is terrible. Lunch is going to end, and then I have to walk out in the hall, and then this kid is going to try to beat me up, and I really don't want to fight. I don't want to get in trouble. I hate this. But that's anxiety. That's negativity. That's a difficult situation. What I want to point out to you is the importance of action / movement in those difficult situations. What's action and movement? Well, the not action and movement is keeping those fears and anxieties within myself and not talking to anyone about it. Action or movement, at the very least, could be talking with my guidance counselor about the situation. And maybe the guidance counselor could talk to the principal, maybe the principal could talk to the kids, and then, you know, there could be some sort of resolution to that situation. That's action and movement. I'll give you another example. I lost 2 state titles in high school. You know, if you're a little wrestler, you know how serious of a sport wrestling is. I lost 2 state finals my junior and senior year. It was heartbreaking, crushing, totally demoralizing, to the point where I felt so terrible about myself and about life. Action and movement is little by little by little moving forward. Maybe it's talking about it with your friends and your family. Maybe it's actually going to another training session. You know, if you're an athlete or if you play a musical instrument or something, you have a next performance that you have to gear up and train for. For me, my junior year, it was dedicating myself to freestyle wrestling. So that was a part of the healing process. That was the action and movement that you needed to start recovering, to start overcoming that difficult situation. So these terrible lows, you find yourself in a terrible situation, you feel bad about yourself, about whatever situation you're in, understand you've got to actually do something. You've got to take action. You've got to create movement. You've got to create momentum to help to start to overcome that. And don't make it complex. Just make it simple, right? Don't make it complex. Just make it simple. A simple action, a simple little thing that can make you feel a little bit better, that then you can build upon that little thing with another little thing. So here's the action point for this segment. Explain how action and movement can help you feel better. Okay, so what I want you to do is take what I just said there and explain it in detail. So I'm going to clarify a little bit. So explain how action and movement can help you feel better. Give an example. Okay, give a real example. A real thing you can do that will make you feel better and why it made you feel better. There's a law. Not like you're going to get arrested if you don't follow the law, but there's a law. It's called Newton's law of motion. And I am not a science guy. Trust me, I am not a science guy. Biology was like the hardest thing in the world for me. Chemistry, I'll say this, if there's any chemists out there, I'm like water and oil. Me and science do not mix. Okay, that's how I feel about the sciences. But there is a very, very prominent, very famous Newton's law of motion that says an object in motion will continue in motion unless acted upon by an exterior force. And I want to tell you this much. This is a little behind the scenes. I didn't actually write what it meant down in my notebook, so I thought to myself, I don't even know what it is. But I remembered. Yes, I remember because I studied it, folks. I studied it. That's the name of the game. But you've got to create motion. So explain how action and movement can help you feel better. Maybe it's an experience you had in the past. Maybe it's something you can envision, but a small action that you can do that will actually make you feel better. I'll give you a hint. Maybe it's doing something nice for someone else. That's an example. Moving on to the third segment, defining your role. So role here, not a King's Hawaiian roll, R-O-L-L, those delicious little rolls. But this is a role, R-O-L-E. So I went to the Google and I looked this up. Definition of a role. It's a part played by a person or thing in a situation. It's a duty or use that someone has or is expected to have. Have you ever heard this saying, what was your role in the situation? Or what's your role in all of this? Let's imagine. We're just going to imagine. Because my gut tells me, if you're listening to AMXkids, you have not been to the principal's office. And if you have been to the principal's office, it's probably only been like one time, a long time ago, for like a very little thing. That's the reality of the situation, right? Probably. But let's imagine you go to the principal's office. And I want to explain this to help further explain, give some a little bit of depth, make the idea of a role even clearer to you. So you go to the principal's office, and he might say to you, did you play a role in all of this? Were you the leader? Were you the follower? What was your role in all of this? So that's what was your part played in all of this. So in your family, your role in the family might be to do dishes, might be to do laundry. Those were things that my brother and I would always trade off when we were little. I don't want to do dishes. Okay, I'll trade the dishes for the laundry. Is it to take care of your pet? Is it to feed the dog, feed the cat, let the dog out before you go? Something that you're expected to do. That's your duty. That's your responsibility. That's your role. So my role, I have a husband. I have a role as a husband and a father. To be spend time, to be a giant part of my kids' lives, to be a loyal, supportive husband. Those are my roles as a father. As a fighter, going to the gym, I had the role of a leader. It was my role. It was my responsibility to show up on time, to be a leader by example. That was my role as a fighter, to do the right thing, make the right choices, train hard, and be a leader by example. And I had people, we were talking about this idea earlier of a team. I had people that taught me along the way too, and taught me that, hey, this is the way. This is the thing I believe. Have you ever heard the saying, walk the walk and talk the talk? So talking the talk says, I get good grades, I study all the time. But walking the walk means you really do get good grades and you really do study all the time. So there's a difference between leading by the things you say and leading by the things you do. And it's really important that those two things are very similar. It's very important that those two things align with each other and agree with each other. So here's an action point. This could be a small conversation in itself. The action point for role is this: clearly define your role in these three categories: your school, your family, and your friends. Clearly define your role in these three categories. Your role in school. So academically, what is your role? Are you the class clown? Again, I feel very confident to say you are not the class clown because you're listening to AMXkids. And if you are the class clown, let's start working on not being the class clown. So define your role in first, school, second, your family, and third, your friends. School, family, and friends. Define your role in those three categories. So you can use nouns. So you might say, well, in school, I'm a leader. In sports, on my lacrosse team, I'm a supporter, right? I'm a supporting cast member. I give the assists to the person who scores the goal all the time. Maybe, like I said, in class, maybe your role is the person who raises their hand all the time. And I'm going to tell you this. As the world's toughest lifelong learner, I am full of questions. Right now, if you're watching on Facebook or if you're watching on YouTube, I actually have questions coming out of my ears. I'm wearing headphones so they don't come out my ears. But I ask so many questions. I have so many questions on my mind that they come out my ears and my eyeballs and sometimes my nose and my mouth. That's how many questions I have. So my role, right? My role. I'm laughing because of the people. Oh, I'm sorry, people. My role is essentially the questioner. I'm a questioner. That was my role in the classroom. That was my role in an academic situation, is the questioner. I'm sorry, but it's just what I love to do. It's just what I felt drawn to do. So you can use nouns like that. I'm the questioner, I'm the class clown, I'm the leader. Or you can use sentences simply by explaining what you do. In my family, I'm expected to X, Y, and Z. In school, I'm expected to X, Y, and Z. Amongst my friends, I 1, 2, 3. Explain your role, explain the things you do. So many Spaniards out there, I hope you enjoy this. I hope you appreciate this. Remember, reading, you might not think of it as fun at first, but for me, it's a life changer. For me, reading really and truly does change my life. It helps me live through other people's experiences. It takes me on adventures and journeys. It teaches me along the way, and it gives me the opportunity to teach you along the way as well. For that, I'm extremely grateful. It's something that I hold near and dear. So thank you so much for tuning in. To the parents, teachers, and coaches. Again, please use these episodes as platforms for discussion. Thinking back, but whether it was teachers or coaches or most fundamentally my parents, that communication, that direct line of communication and those words exchanged from me to them and them to me, it's something extremely vital and special and important. So as always, please use this to create that discussion. Youngsters, mini Spaniards, world's toughest little learners, however you want to identify yourselves, please come back next week. A new episode will be released AMXkids 7 next Tuesday. I'll be posting these videos on Facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard, as well as YouTube.com/Charlie Spaniard if you'd like to tune in and watch them there. Or subscribe with your smartphones on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Just search out Spaniard and you'll see me. CharlieSpaniard.com, @Charlie Spaniard on social media. Let's talk books. Let's talk learning, kids. Be bold. So if only there were kids who would listen. If only there was 1 million parents and teachers and coaches who would use this stuff to create and foster that conversation. Because if you can think back to middle school, if you can think back to the first time you saw drugs and alcohol, or the first time you heard the word sex, or the first time you saw a kid punch another kid, that confusion, that like, oh my goodness gracious, what is this? What is happening right now? If you can imagine that, and then just how much more comfortable you felt with open and direct communication with an adult who is there to help you. It's freaking invaluable. So I encourage you, please, 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 I'm kind of pleading, but I didn't mean to. Take these episodes, take this content, pass it on to a kid. You use it for yourself to create conversations with your kid or whatever mentee you might have under you. And yeah, I appreciate it. I love this. Dreadster, I'm anxious to talk to you about, the episode about the content. And that's it, folks. This will be published on my podcast at 4 p.m. today. Excuse me. I have to upload it and schedule it. But yeah, there's every Tuesday a new episode is going to come out. Let's make reading a consistent part of young people's lives, in your lives too. I'll be back tomorrow with AMX, or I don't even know what, AMX 538 maybe? 538 tomorrow, facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard. Tune in, people. 8 minutes. That's all it takes. 8 minutes. Subscribe to the Spaniard Show on iTunes, Spaniard Show. You don't gotta buy anything. Just freaking listen. That's it. See ya.